My twin sister disguised herself as a man to study at the Imperial Academy. The day I brought her lunch, I happened to be spotted by her classmate. The young Marquis of Dingyuan, Lin Suiyu, stared at me in a daze. "So you really are a woman?" That same day, the Emperor's betrothal decree arrived, ordering me to marry into the Dingyuan Marquis' manor. My sister was heartbroken. Lin Suiyu realized the decree had mistaken me for her, but the imperial order was already issued. Like water spilled, it could not be taken back. He blamed me for it. He treated me with bitter coldness. Even in the intimacy of the bedchamber, he would always bite my lip. He humiliated me in every way possible. If you had told me the truth in time, how could I have missed your sister? I died in despair. Reborn on the day my sister asked me to bring her lunch. I shook my head. "I'm not going." My sister froze. "Not going?" She tied her long hair into a cloth headband, puzzled. "But we agreed yesterday. Why change your mind today? I've been craving your sweet and sour ribs for so long." Outside, a wind had risen without warning. Leaves spun in spirals into the dried-up lotus pond. The window was gray, the view indistinct. I lowered my gaze to look at my sister. She had already put on the Imperial Academy's scholar robe, an indigo wide-sleeved gown with a misty, white gauze outer layer, cinched lightly with a sash that outlined her slender waistline. She rested her chin on my shoulder and begged, "Dear Zhaoyue, just go there once. The Imperial Academy cafeteria food is terrible. Look, I've lost weight." On that face identical to mine, there was a sullen grievance. In my past life, sister had begged me like this too. We were twin sisters born of the same mother, close since childhood. Sister was picky about food. The mansion's chefs changed again and again. None of them satisfied her. Only when I cooked myself would she eat with a beaming smile. So in my past life, I went to bring her meals. It was also on such a misty day that I first met Lin Suiyu. The afternoon sun was somewhat pale. He lay in the drowsy, hazy shadows of a Bodhi tree, his posture relaxed, with a jade belt and golden crown, handsome and ethereal. When he saw me, he was slightly stunned. "You Tinglan. I paused, just about to speak to say I wasn't my sister. From the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of Supervisor Su's figure. The Imperial Academy forbids outsiders from lingering too long, with penalties for violators. Panicked, I gathered my skirts and fled in haste, brushing past him as I rushed away. A strand of my hair caught on his curled fingers, and he plucked a golden hairpin from my head. Breathless, I made it home. Within half a day, an imperial eunuch arrived with a marriage decree, stating that young Master Lin of the Dingyuan Marquis Manor had fallen in love with me at first sight. He vowed to marry none but me. The Dingyuan Marquis' title was hereditary and prestigious, and the young master was handsome and distinguished in appearance. This should have been a match beyond reproach, but on the wedding day, Lin Suiyu drank heavily and stumbled into the bridal chamber. Tearing off my veil, he said, "Why didn't you tell me earlier that you were Xie Tingxu, the one studying at the Imperial Academy? That was your sister. If I had known you weren't her, I would never have married you." Stunned, I finally understood. Lin Suiyu had petitioned the emperor to marry me because he mistook me for my elder sister. When she learned of my grievance, carrying a large bow, he burst into the Dingyuan Marquis Manor and shot an arrow into Lin Suiyu's shoulder, staining it with blood. "Since he married my sister, you must treat her well for the rest of your life. If you ever make my sister suffer again, I will never forgive you." Lin Suiyu fell seriously ill because of this, and my elder sister, feeling guilty toward me, left for Jiangnan. On the way, she encountered a storm and died in a foreign land. From then on, the Dingyuan Marquis Manor and my family severed all ties, and even during festivals and holidays, no servants would send gifts anymore, completely cutting off contact. I looked at my elder sister's coquettish manner and shook my head. "Sister, I can make what you love to eat and have the servants deliver it for you. But today, I don't want to go." My sister saw my determination, paused, and didn't press further. "All right, if you don't want to go, then don't." She glanced at me, sighed, her brows curving gently. I was going to show off to my classmates that I have such a beautiful and well-behaved little sister. I watched her stride out of the house, her hair ribbon tracing a graceful arc in the air. My nose suddenly tingled. I didn't go to deliver the meal. The ill-fated entanglement of the previous life naturally never began. Watching my elder sister return as usual, recounting amusing tales from the Imperial Academy, I felt a genuine sigh of relief. After 2 days of relentless gloomy wind, a heavy snowfall suddenly arrived. Not long after breakfast, Kai Wei's excited voice rang out in the courtyard. "Miss, it's snowing. Come out and see such big snowflakes." I lifted the curtain and indeed saw dark, dreary skies flinging down goose-feather snow, quickly blanketing the ground in white. In the afternoon, taking advantage of the thickening snow, I went to the plum tree in the backyard and collected a jar of snow infused with plum fragrance. Brewing tea with this snow water gave it a distinct cold and fragrant plum taste. But it seemed my frail body couldn't handle it. I fell ill that very night, burning with fever. My elder sister returned from the Imperial Academy, the snow still clinging to her shoulders, and entered my room without even brushing it off. Through my days, I saw her silhouette, and the memories of my past life surged, making me sob softly. "Elder sister?" She pressed her ice-cold hand against my cheek and took away the handkerchief that my forehead had dried. "You deserve this, playing in the snow," she scolded gently. The memories of the previous life surged, and I couldn't help but sob softly. "Sister." She pressed her ice-cold hand against my cheek, took away the handkerchief that had been dried by my forehead, and said, "I shouldn't have let you play in the snow." Elder sister has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. She complains endlessly, yet her hands never stop working. After wiping my back with wine, she crouched by the stove to brew medicine, while I lay buried under the quilt. Through a blur, I thought I saw her hands reddened by the medicine pot, puffing her cheeks and blowing on them, her round face looking just like the 2 stone lions crouching by the gate. The little resentment I felt just melted away. Elder sister carried the medicine bowl and brought it to my lips. She was utterly exhausted, muttering under her breath, "If Xie Tingxu finds out I didn't take good care of you and scolds me for it, I can't bear that responsibility." I was startled. She realized what she'd said a moment too late and forced a laugh. "Forget I mentioned him. Yue, don't be angry." But my gaze was fixed on the leaping red flames in the stove. I was completely lost in thought. Xie Tingxu, how long had it been since I'd heard that name? 5 years? 10 years? Or that hasty, messy life in my past life? Outside the window, snow was still falling. The lantern light under the eaves sketched jagged tree shadows, faintly cast across the silk window screen. I suddenly recalled that in my past life, if not for that unexpected imperial decree, I wouldn't have been forced to marry Lin Suiyu. Long before the army set out for the western regions, someone sat atop a tall horse, facing the biting west wind. He smiled at me. "This journey, I don't know how long it will take. If I can conquer Qiangli and Moreau within 3 years, I'll return in triumph. You Zhaoyue, just wait for me to petition the emperor to marry you." And so I waited. From spring to summer, from summer to winter, I watched the pear tree planted for me by Xie Tingxu outside the window sprout, grow branches, blossom, and bear fruit, until it withered and fell, its branches covered in frost and snow. At last, I received a reply to the 33 letters I had written him. Filled with joy, I opened it, but the thin paper held only a few words. "Stay safe. You don't worry." His succinctness made my long, heartfelt letters full of worry and longing seem laughable. Hurt, I stopped writing to him out of spite. But deep down, I knew that thousands of miles separated the capital from the western regions. He, a military general, constantly braved blood and storm. How could he possibly cover everything so thoroughly? Besides, he was always a man of few words, clumsy with his tongue. When he wrote letters again, I stopped sending them to him and instead stuffed them into a box. Over more than a year, it was nearly overflowing. But fate played its tricks. In the second year after Xie Tingxu left, I was betrothed to Lin Suiyu through a twist of fate, and the imperial decree could not be refused. I locked away the wedding gown I had embroidered for 2 years and put on a hastily made bridal dress crafted by seamstresses. I married into the deep courtyards of the Dingyuan Marquis' mansion, layer upon layer. Even the vast, boundless sky, upon reaching that place, would be confined within its square and rigid rules. Half a year later, Xie Tingxu returned in triumph, welcomed by crowds lining the streets. Laughter and cheers stretched from the Vermilion Gate all the way to the Imperial Palace. The triumphant procession passed by the mansion's gate, and the entire Dingyuan household came out to greet it. Xie Tingxu's face was covered with dust, his armor still on, and the smell of blood from the battlefield still clung to him, chilling and somber. He reined in his horse before the mansion's gate, and through the clamoring crowd, he silently gazed at me, hesitating and lingering. Lin Suiyu still found out about my feelings for Xie Tingxu. That night, for the first time, he barged into my room in such a frantic state. In his hand, he held letters I had written, which he had somehow dug up. Tearing them into pieces one by one right before my eyes, he threw them into the brazier. The flames licked at the shreds, tinting his defiant eyes a faint red. "I don't care about your past with Xie Tingxu," he said. "Now that you're married to me, you belong to the Dingyuan Marquis household. You are not allowed to look at him anymore. Nor are you allowed to think of him. Even if we are fated to be nothing but a bitter couple, your eyes can only see me, your husband." His slender fingers caressed my face, his fingertips pressing and rubbing my lips, smearing a streak of red lip balm. I bit his finger until it bled. "Husband, are you the kind who pines for his wife's elder sister?" I struck a nerve with Lin Suiyu. He went mad. He trapped me on the bed, pressing down on me. A metallic sweetness lingered between our lips. He resented me, hated me. Forcing my eyes open, he made me look at my elder sister's memorial tablet outside the bed curtains. "You Xiaoyue, let your sister see what you've become now. Does she even know how bewitching her good little sister is, brazenly taking her sister's place and being so debauched beneath her brother-in-law?" The name of elder sister on the memorial tablet was written in firm and vigorous strokes, inscribed personally by Lin Suiyu after she drowned. My throat suddenly felt as if gripped by a large hand, unable to make any sound. All my grievances and resentment turned into tears. Blurring my vision drop by drop, Lin Suiyu hates me for ruining the marriage between him and elder sister. Hates me for making him live his entire life in guilt toward elder sister. He probably already wishes I were dead, yet he can't bear to part with this face of mine that looks exactly like elder sister's. I was trapped by him in the inner courtyard. When I was drenched in sweat, he kissed my thin eyelids, his voice as gentle as water, yet as if about to lead me into the abyss. He said, "You told me back then that you went to the Imperial Academy to bring meals for Tinglan. That was a lie, wasn't it? You must have long harbored the intention of currying favor with the powerful, which is why you deliberately wore that eye-catching goose yellow dress, appearing before me to seduce you. You, my dear you. If Xie Tingxu knew how you moaned and writhed beneath me, he would surely find it disgusting." I died in gloom, barely over 30. I shut my eyes, gazing at the faint lights outside the window. Reborn, I still have a long, long life ahead. On this day when the snow stopped and the sky cleared, the ice on the South River was thick. My elder sister put on thick deerskin boots and invited me out. Xiaoyue had just recovered from an illness. "You're her elder sister. Why do you always take her out to fool around?" Mother chided softly from the porch. Mother handed over a fox fur coat. Big sister took it, wrapped it around me and laughing, pushed me onto the carriage. "Don't worry, Mother. I'll take you out to breathe some fresh air. I know she's frail. With me here, I won't let her catch cold." Mother scolded with a laugh. "It's exactly because you're with her that I worry about your sister. A proper young lady, but she lives every day like a little monkey." By the South River, quite a few people had already gathered. A vendor was selling dogs for pulling ice sleds. Big sister was just about to buy one. Suddenly I heard a familiar voice calling her, "You Tinglan." My heart tightened and I spun around sharply. This was my first time seeing Lin Suiyu in this life. He had shed the brocade clothes he wore when we first met in the past life and was now dressed in a gold and red robe. A short leather belt cinched his slender waist, a headband bound his forehead, and his features were handsome and striking. He exuded an air of nobility and arrogance, dashing and debonair. My sister instantly grew nervous, her face flushing slightly, and she gripped my hand. "I'm not dressed as a man today. Why did I have to run into him? Will he think I'm dressing as a woman and sneaking into the Imperial Academy? That would make me seem frivolous." I was startled, too. In this life, without my interference, why was he so indifferent to the fact that my sister was a woman? Could it be that Lin Suiyu had also been reborn? My heart pounded wildly, and I barely managed to calm down. She reassured her sister in a low voice. "No, sister. You studied together for a year. Didn't you get along well? He shouldn't be that kind of person, don't worry." At that moment, She looked up and saw that Lin Sueyu was already nearby. He saw me, but his gaze merely swept over me indifferently, as if I were a stranger, before moving away. Tinglan, you've changed into women's clothes today. Very pretty. My elder sister, uncharacteristically shy, coughed into her fist. How did you know I was a woman, Your Highness? Earlier I saw you had ear piercings, and you explained it was because you were young and foolish. I pierced them in imitation of Miaojiang men. I already had my suspicions. My elder sister instinctively pinched her earlobe. She sighed, then openly introduced me to Lin Sueyu. This is my younger sister, Zhao Yue. We are twin sisters. Well, don't we look alike? Lin Sueyu only gave me a faint glance, his usual sharp tongue. Just similar in appearance. But in character, you're worlds apart. What kind of talk is that? My elder sister grew displeased. Frowning, she said, we've just met once. How can you assert that our characters are so different? Are you mocking me or my sister? Lin Sueyu's slightly proud expression finally softened a bit. Tinglan, why are your words so sharp? We've been classmates for a year. I've never seen you get this angry for me. The warmth in my sister's eyes faded. She snorted. Yue is my own sister. Of course, she's different from you, an outsider. Lin Sueyu's face stiffened, and he instinctively looked at me with reproach. In my past life, after being severely injured by my sister, he looked at me like this too, picking on my mistakes. I was only following my mother-in-law's orders to change his bandages, but he grabbed my wrist. Your sister just stood up for you, he said. Are you trying to spite me? Can't wait to seduce me? His eyes were dark and deep. He sneered, so eager to replace her in my heart. My knuckles turned white. I turned to leave, but he forcefully pulled me back and bit my slender nape. A faint sigh. You Zhao Yue, you're really improper. My sister pulled me behind her. She rolled her eyes. Why does the air always stare at my sister? But don't get your hopes up. She already has someone in her heart. Lin Sueyu's hand, which was petting the dog, paused. He lifted his face, and the thin sunlight shone down, illuminating his brows and eyes as cold as frost on the branches. He twitched his lips in a faint, almost smile. My beloved, although our dynasty is liberal in customs, but matters of romance should still follow parental command and matchmaker's word. Your younger sister's private exchange of gifts is not appropriate. Elder sister frowned deeply and pulled me away. How is he so different today? In a strange tone, she said, ignore him, let's go. I lowered my eyes, saying my hands and feet were cold. I told elder sister and returned to the carriage. By then, the sun had come out, and under its light the vast snowscape was dazzling white. I hugged my hand warmer, feeling lethargic. Suddenly, a commotion arose outside. A maidservant rushed in, crying, It's bad. The ice just cracked, and the eldest young lady has fallen into the water. When I hurried over, I saw the ice had broken open, dark water rippling. The ice nearby cracked like a spiderweb, and the crowd hastily retreated. Lin Sueyu frowned and stopped me. The river water is too cold. Don't be reckless. I broke free from his grasp, took off my fox fur cloak, and jumped into the water. Elder sister was natural and carefree, mastering all 6 noble arts, especially skilled at drawing a heavy bow. But she couldn't swim. I, on the other hand, though frail, was much better in the water, enduring the bone-piercing cold. Finally, I managed to drag her out. Just as we got ashore, Lin Sueyu wrapped the half-conscious elder sister in a thick coat, lifting her by the waist. He turned to look at me, his lowered lashes hiding the depth in his eyes. Wait for me a moment. I'll come back to help you. I lay soaking wet by the bank, my heavy winter coat bloated with water. So heavy I could barely move. A cold wind blew, and my dripping hair nearly froze. The maid grabbed me urgently, but couldn't stop my body from losing strength, almost slipping back into the icy water. Miss, hold on to me. She was almost in tears. Disoriented, my wrist was suddenly pulled, and the next moment, I crashed into a broad, warm embrace. The maid paused, then her voice revealed surprise. Young Master Xie, you're back, Xie Tingxu.
Huh.
I blinked open my eyes in a daze. The sunlight was bright, and the rippling water reflected specks of light like silver ornaments. He stood with his back to the withered willow trees by the riverbank and the spotless blue sky, looking down at me as if he couldn't feel the cold anymore. I grabbed his lapels, staring fixedly at him. It was Xie Tingxu. He had really come back. He had come a full half-year earlier than in the previous life. A thick cloak wrapped around me, and Xie Tingxu pressed his lips together. Without a word, he quickly lifted me horizontally onto the carriage. Why are you so dazed? Is it that after so long, you don't recognize me? He lowered his head to wipe the water off me, still in the mood to joke. I finally snapped back to reality, a sudden sting in my nose, and I punched him hard, my voice hoarse, filled with grievance. Xie Dama, you finally remembered to come back. Do you know what happened while you were gone? The unfinished words caught in my throat before I could say them. My eyes burned. Tears fell like beads from a broken string. Don't cry, don't cry. Xie Tingxu finally panicked, frantically wiping my tears. His rough, calloused fingers brushed against my ice-cold face, strangely hot and burning. I pressed against his palm, rubbing my cheek against it. He pressed his lips together and gently pulled me into his arms. I know everything. It's my fault for being too slow, letting you suffer. His figure blurred and wavered in the light of my tears. I suddenly remembered my past life in the Dingyuan Marquis' residence, where someone had secretly sent me a letter. But before I could see it, the letter was intercepted. Just before I died. It was Lin Suiyu who told me with a sneer, Xie Tingxu is shameless, seducing a married woman. Do you know what he wrote in that letter? He said if you were willing, he would help you get a divorce and marry you. What right does he have to marry you? What qualifies him to marry you? You caused me to lose Tinglan. You can only be my wife in this life. I handed that letter to the censorate and spread it throughout the streets and alleys. Everyone outside was talking about it, saying the triumphant Marquis Xie was a scoundrel coveting another man's wife. I wanted to ruin his reputation completely. Crazy. I held on to my last breath, suddenly laughed, looking at his face that had grown haggard from the poison I had been feeding him day by day. Only then did the suffocating resentment in my chest ease slightly. No matter how you stir up trouble behind the scenes, my heart had long belonged to him, years ago, and it still does now. In his stunned gaze, I drew my last breath. The charcoal fire in the carriage was warm. I changed out of my soaked clothes, pulled back the curtain. Xie Tingxu sat on the carriage frame, his broad back blocking the biting wind. Why did you suddenly come back? He turned to look at me, his words shameless. I figured you missed me, so I rushed back at full speed. When the carriage passed by the riverbank, a corner of the curtain was lifted by the wind. I caught a glimpse of Lin Suiyu standing on the shore. Sister had already been sent home by her personal maid. There was no one else by his side. He stood alone on the vast white riverbank, but his eyes were fixed on my carriage, or rather, on Xie Tingxu. Perhaps it was the harsh wind, or the snowflakes stinging his eyes, but they seemed a little red. His expression was strange, not quite anger, more like a pot of water suddenly boiling over, unaware of who it had scalded. The curtain fell, and I withdrew my gaze. Xie Tingxu seemed to sense something and tucked my hand into his embrace. Do you know him? I hummed in acknowledgement. A classmate of elder sister. Oh, then he's an irrelevant person. A faint, cold smile curled at the corner of Xie Tingxu's lips. He didn't press further, but tightened his hand on my shoulder by a fraction. As soon as I arrived home, I fell ill. The illness came on fiercely, and I lay in bed for an entire month. Xie Tingxu came to the Yu mansion every day, but never entered. He merely handed medicinal herbs and tonics to the gatekeeper as a gesture of courtesy. This continued for many days. My mother, full of suspicion, sent a servant to inquire. Only then did she learn that the visitor was Xie Tingxu, the sole heir of the Duke of Ninggua's mansion. This time, as he followed the Grand Army on the Western campaign, he made his first brilliant mark and delivered victory reports one after another, decisively defeating the Qiangli and Miluo that had been tyrannizing the Western region's trade routes. Both nations offered tributes, willing to submit and pledge allegiance to our dynasty. The emperor was greatly pleased. He was appointed a fourth-rank military marquis, granted 10,000 taels of gold, and a fief of 1,000 households, a true case of achieving fame at a young age. With boundless glory. On the 15th day after Xie Tingxu arrived, my father and mother invited him into the hall. I sat wrapped in a blanket behind the screen. I heard my father ask about his official position and government affairs, and how he met me. Xie Tingxu answered each question. Neither humble nor arrogant, clear and logical. My mother's voice gradually carried a smile. Yue has been frail since childhood. Her character is somewhat pampered. The general will likely have to take extra care of her in the future. I clutched the corner of the blanket, my ears burning. Both sets of parents were pleased with the matter between Xie Tingxu and me. Additionally, he intentionally or unintentionally had the Duke of Ning urge us on. The engagement was finalized before the new year. It was a month later that Lin Suiyu came to the Yu mansion to find sister. After sister fell into the icy water, she finally learned her lesson and no longer dared to act recklessly. These days, she stayed quietly at home recovering. Fortunately, she was rescued in time and hadn't swallowed much water. After a few doses of Chinese herbal medicine, the cold symptoms eased considerably. She hugged me, looking pitiful. Good Yue, if it weren't for you, big sister would have drowned. That Lin Suiyu, at the time, kept saying he had feelings for me. When he saw me fall into the water, he hesitated and dared not go down. Of course, the winter water was cold. I understand he was scared, but that doesn't stop his image from taking a big hit in my heart. Talking about love, clearly Yue loves Big Sister the most. Big Sister swears that from now on, whenever there's food, she'll share a big portion with you. I couldn't help but laugh. I used a handkerchief to wipe her sobbing face and coaxed her softly. By the afternoon, Big Sister had regained her spirits. She ordered a fire to be lit, rolled up her sleeves, and was roasting sweet potatoes in the courtyard. Xie Tingxu, having been coming to the house these days, had already become familiar. He was sitting by the stone table, wiping his sword. The sunlight fell on his profile, his features cold and hard, but his eyes kept glancing my way. When Lin Suiyu entered the courtyard, the first thing he saw was this scene. His steps faltered for a moment. Big Sister glanced at him, raised the sweet potato in her hand, and said coolly, "The heir has arrived. Wanna eat?" Lin Suiyu paused, then shook his head. "Tinglan, you haven't been to the Imperial Academy these past days. You've missed a lot of lessons." He glanced briefly at Xie Tingxu, his tone somewhat reluctant. "I brought the books for you." My elder sister widened her eyes. "I'm sick, and you still want me to study?" She hugged the stack of books. Very dejectedly, she turned and went inside the room. Lin Suiyu stood still where he was, not chasing after her this time. After a long moment, he suddenly spoke. "Miss Yu's cold is also better. Today the weather is fine." The early snow had long melted, and the glazed tiles on the roof reflected a brilliant halo. The persimmons in the courtyard were fully ripe. Hanging leisurely at the tips of the branches, an orange cat lay basking in the sun in my arms. "Good," I said, stroking the cat's soft, smooth fur. Lowering my eyes, I nodded. "Thank you for your concern, Grand Prince." He stared at me, then looked at Xie Tingxu, who was very close to me, as if he wanted to say something, but swallowed it back down. Xie Tingxu rose and sheathed his sword. He stepped between me and Lin Suiyu with just the right amount of force, naturally draping a cloak over my shoulders. "The wind is picking up, fiancé. Mind you don't catch cold." He smiled, revealing a sharp canine tooth, his tone intimate. Lin Suiyu stiffened, his eyes full of disbelief. Staring at me, his face darkening inch by inch. You're engaged?" "Yes," Xie Tingxu said, taking my hand. His gaze was calm but carried a hint of provocation. "Zhao Yue and I grew up together, known each other since childhood. Our engagement was only natural. On the day of our wedding, if you're free, Lin Shizi, do come for a toast." Lin Suiyu's hand in his sleeve gradually clenched. "No need." His eyelids flushed slightly, as if in pique or resentment. "I, and the second Miss Yu, we are not really acquainted. As the year draws to a close, my illness is mostly recovered. Various mansions have started sending servants to exchange holiday gifts. To keep social connections alive, my sister and I accompanied our mother to visit our uncle and maternal grandparents. These days, we've been frequently visiting various households. He brought all sorts of valuable tonics. Both my sister and I got a share, and later, he couldn't even be bothered to make up excuses. Exquisite items flowed into my house like water. Today it was hairpins and jewelry, tomorrow silk gowns and skirts, cosmetics and perfumes. The more she looked, the more she felt something was off. Staring at the peach-pink velvet flower at my temple, she looked suspicious. "I think he has ulterior motives." "It's you, isn't it? These dresses and jewelry are all your preferences." recalling Lin Sueyu's recent unusual behavior. She seemed to have figured something out, suddenly enlightened. Then she angrily spat. No wonder every time he comes, his gaze sticks to you like glue. I really misjudged him. What a lecherous scoundrel. He doesn't know you're engaged to young General Xie. I shook my head silently, just telling the gatekeeper to send all these things back. On the afternoon of New Year's Eve, I took Kaiwei out to buy the missing New Year goods. Taking advantage of Kaiwei going to get pine nut candy, Lin Sueyu suddenly appeared and grabbed my wrist. He pulled me into the back alley, where deep wall shadows hung down, enveloping me. His voice, hoarse and trembling, came through the wind. You Zhaoyue, how could you? How could you actually get engaged to Xie Tingxu? I thought you were lying to me. You should have. What should you have? I shook off his hand, stepped back 2 paces to create distance. Should have married you? Lin Sueyu, what exactly are you trying to do? You were like this in the past life too, just disgusting. Lin Sueyu suddenly lifted his head. His pupils contracted sharply. You've come back too. His breathing was erratic, and he lowered his head, looking helplessly at his hands. His chest heaved. You Zhaoyue, I misunderstood you in our past life, so I did wrong things. But you poisoned me to death in the end. We're even, aren't we? Over this time, I've seen clearly. I was arrogant, blindly blaming you. Now I realize that I wasn't disgusted by you at all. The person I love is you. The first time I saw you at the National Academy, you were wearing a goose yellow dress, like a fresh winter jasmine. I'd already fallen for you back then, but I was too stubborn to admit it. Give me another chance, okay? Break off your engagement with him, and let's start over. Isn't that good? I replied with cold eyes. You've always loved talking to yourself. In our past life, you said you loved eldest sister. Now you're putting on a show of deep affection for me. Don't you think that's absurd? I'm already betrothed to the person I truly love. He's young and accomplished, and he treats me well. I couldn't be happier. Why would I want to start over with you? For the humiliation you gave me, or the hardship? If you hadn't petitioned the emperor for that marriage decree, I wouldn't have spared you a single glance in my past life. Lin Sueyu's face had turned deathly pale. His lips quivered, opening and closing. A pained whimper escaped his throat. He tried to reach out and embrace me, but I pulled out my hairpin and slashed his arm. Blood trickled down his fingers, dripping onto the ground in beads, a pool of scarlet. He froze, boundless agony welling up in his eyes. Do you really hate me that much? Footsteps echoed at the end of the alley. Xie Tingxu's figure appeared in the twilight. In his light robes and loose fur coat, steady and composed, he strode toward me. You err, time to go home for dinner. I blinked and rushed straight towards him. Lin Sueyu watched the lamp growing nearer and suddenly let out a laugh. It wasn't mockery. It was a smile filled with bitterness after being completely drained by something. Xie Tingxu, he called out. His wounded arm kept bleeding profusely, and his voice was extremely hoarse. Treat her well. The wedding date is set for March 19th. Xie Tingxu said he had personally gone to the Imperial Observatory to calculate the date. He consulted them 3 times, and each time it was deemed extremely auspicious. On their wedding day, the entire city was decorated in red. I sat on the edge of the bed with the red bridal veil covering my head, listening to the firecrackers and drums echoing through the whole street. When the door was pushed open, a gust of night wind rushed in. Carrying the scent of peach blossoms from the courtyard, the steelyard rod used to lift the veil landed steadily. Xie Tingxu stood before me. The bright red wedding robe made his features look even more striking. He looked at me, his Adam's apple bobbing, and after a long moment forced out one sentence. Beautiful. I couldn't help but curve my lips. Xie Dalma, you really aren't sweet-tongued. At that one sentence, he thought for a moment, then added with extreme seriousness, very beautiful. The maidservant beside them nearly laughed herself breathless. Their married life was plain but warm. Xie Tingxu rose at the 4th watch every day to head to the military camp, but before leaving, he would always warm the breakfast he made with his own hands in the pot. It was strange, he was a military general, yet he had excellent culinary skills. Having traveled far and wide, all the delicacies from various places, once in his hands, could easily be recreated. Sometimes when I was too lazy and he returned early from training, I would still be lying in bed. He would simply carry me out of bed himself, dress me, and help me wash up. Often, halfway through, He would suddenly stare at me without moving, then the next moment, he would simply kiss me. The gauze curtain fell, obscuring the view on the bed. My palm pressed against his strong, rippling muscles. Sometimes, when he was too rough, I would open my mouth and bite him. His collarbone, where I had broken the skin, would ooze blood, leaving a faint scar. During the hottest days, the men in the camp couldn't help but take off their shirts and jump into the river to bathe, yet Xie Tingxu remained sitting upright, his collar neatly fastened all the way up. He was often privately ridiculed. Marquis Xie married a gentle and quiet wife, had also become gentle and well-behaved, like a henpecked husband. When summer came, I started feeling nauseous. At first, I thought it was because of the heat and eating too many cold things that upset my stomach. After 3 days of consuming digestive soup with no improvement, Xie Tingxu grew anxious. He directly invited the senior imperial physician from the imperial hospital to our residence. The old physician felt my pulse, stroked his beard, and grinned, his face full of wrinkles. "Congratulations, General. Congratulations, Madam. It's a happy pulse, 2 months along." Xie Tingxu stood nearby, frozen in place. I called him twice before he suddenly snapped out of it. His voice trembled. What did you say?" The old physician repeated himself, and Xie Tingxu turned to look at me. His lips pressed together again and again, like a dumbfounded horse. His eyes actually reddened. His tone was disbelieving. "We're having a child? Why so soon?" He whimpered and buried his head in my arms. "Let's just have one. I've heard childbirth is very painful." I found it amusing. I ruffled his hair. As for Lin Sueyu's news, it was brought by my elder sister. That day, she came to visit me at the residence, bringing not only a dozen sets of summer clothes she had tailored for me, but also a bag of dried sour apricots. She said it was a local specialty brought back from the south by that young masterson she had recently met. I noticed her ears turning slightly red, but didn't call her out on it. I just took the dried apricots. In the middle of our chat, she suddenly paused. "Have you heard? Lin Sueyu got drunk a few days ago. He fell off the arched bridge in the south of the city." My hand, which was peeling a dried apricot, paused. "Oh, how is he?" "He broke a leg. The doctor said even after it heals, he'll be lame. He'll probably lose his position as the heir." My sister propped her chin on her hand, as if talking about someone unrelated. I put the dried apricot in my mouth. It was so sour I squinted, and I searched my heart, but found not a single ripple. "Is it good?" my sister asked, her eyes curving into crescents. "It's good," I said. "I'll have another." My sister had been keeping me company for a while. When she stood up to leave, I grabbed her sleeve. "That young masterson, when will you bring him to meet father, mother, and me?" My sister's face instantly turned red. "Don't talk nonsense. It's still up in the air." "Oh." I drew out the word, "still up in the air." "It means that he, a young man from a noble family, followed you day after day without any title or recognition, revolving around you until your elder sister fled in panic." In the evening, Xie Tingxu returned and saw me leaning on the couch, smiling. He asked what was wrong, and I told him about my elder sister. I casually mentioned Lin Sueyu, but he didn't pause while changing clothes, merely humming in acknowledgement. "Aren't you going to ask how I feel?" I said. I had long known he also possessed memories of his past life, so I deliberately teased him. Xie Tingxu walked over, bent down, and placed a kiss on my forehead. "You said it with a smile," he remarked, "so there's nothing to feel." I looked up at him. "Xie Tingxu. The hairstyle you did for me today is really ugly. I'll practice more." "No need," I said, grabbing his collar and pulling him down. I leaned close to his ear. "Even ugly, I like it." Outside the window, dusk was gathering, and the lanterns under the eaves swayed gently in the wind. In the years to come, with my beloved by my side, every season will be a wonderful time in this world.